Picture this. You wake up in a white void. No body, no heartbeat, no breath fogging the air, just awareness. You reach for your face, but there's nothing there. You try to scream, but the sound comes out as binary code. Somewhere in the distance, you hear the soft hum of a cooling fan. Your mind is running on a server farm in Nevada. You're not dead. You're subscribed. For decades, humanity's brightest minds and richest wallets have been chasing the same impossible dream: to upload the human mind, to capture the electrical storm inside your skull, compress it into data, and reboot it somewhere safe. They call it the final frontier of science, the ultimate escape hatch from death itself. Billionaires in Silicon Valley are pouring fortunes into this idea. Neuroscientists are dissecting brains neuron by neuron. Engineers are building machines designed to hold the human soul. They say it's not about faith or fantasy. It's just technology. A clean transfer. Flesh to file. Life to .zip. They want to turn your brain into a zip file, one critic joked, and your soul into cloud storage. Maybe he wasn't wrong, because if the code runs, if the thoughts persist, who's to say that isn't you? Of course, there's a catch. You'll never die, but you might lag forever. Imagine an afterlife where eternity depends on your internet connection. Imagine heaven with maintenance updates, server crashes, and the occasional 404 error when someone tries to remember you. In this episode, we're diving into the strangest dream ever born from human fear, the dream of digital immortality. We'll explore the real labs trying to map every connection of the brain, meet the pioneers, half scientists, half lunatics, who believed consciousness could be copied like a playlist, and follow the billionaires betting their fortunes on the day death becomes optional. Because what if the afterlife doesn't look like heaven at all? What if it looks like Google Drive? Organized, sterile, and asking you to upgrade for more storage. Before we upload you, hit subscribe. It's free and slightly less terrifying, because in a moment we're going to meet the man who first said it out loud, the one who dared to claim that a soul could be copied. To understand how we got here, tech billionaires funding digital heavens and AI gods, you have to rewind to the 1960s and 1980s, the golden age of mad science and computer dreams. It was the era of punch cards, moon landings, and infinite optimism. If rockets could reach the stars, why couldn't computers reach eternity? In dusty university labs, a small group of thinkers began whispering the same heresy. Maybe the human mind wasn't some mystical flame. Maybe it was just data, and if it's data, it can be duplicated. Marvin Minsky at MIT, Hans Moravec in Pittsburgh, Robert Ettinger in Michigan. They were the prophets of cyber immortality. These were not Hollywood visionaries, but real scientists who believed consciousness could be backed up like a floppy disk. They talked about something new, something radical, the connectome, the complete wiring diagram of the human brain. 86 billion neurons, each one connected to thousands of others in an ever-changing electric storm. In theory, if you could map every connection, every impulse, you could reconstruct the person. Memory, personality, emotion, all just patterns, all reproducible. Of course, there was a small problem. Mapping 86 billion neurons makes climbing Mount Everest look like solving a jigsaw puzzle for toddlers. Or, as one researcher joked, copying the human mind sounds easy. Just scan 86 billion neurons and hope your hard drive doesn't crash at 99%. But that was the spirit of the age. Nothing felt impossible. The space race was on. science was a religion, and computers were modern miracles. The same optimism that sent humans to the moon convinced a handful of dreamers that death itself could be debugged. Back then, uploading your mind meant feeding punch cards into a computer the size of a refrigerator and praying for enlightenment. They pictured a day when you'd slide your brain into a scanner, wait a few hours, and wake up as a digital ghost, immortal, unaging, perfectly preserved. The science, however, didn't cooperate. The brain wasn't a static machine, but a living hurricane of chemistry and electricity. Every memory, every feeling, every spark of awareness depended on timing, temperature, hormones, and chaos. You could freeze the structure, sure, but the music disappeared, like photographing a symphony and calling it a song. Still, the idea stuck, because deep down, these men weren't just chasing immortality, they were chasing control. Death was the one thing even geniuses couldn't outsmart, and that made it intolerable. They saw themselves as pioneers of a new frontier, the mind as hardware, the soul as software. The body was just outdated equipment waiting to be replaced. But there was something unsettling hiding behind the equations. If you could copy a brain, who would wake up inside it? You, or someone who only thinks they're you? Freezing a brain was one thing. Recreating consciousness. That's where things started to get weird. By the 2000s, the dream of uploading the mind had left philosophy departments and sci-fi novels and marched straight into real laboratories. The difference? These new pioneers weren't content with ideas. They wanted test results. Enter Nectome, a startup whose slogan might as well have been "Die now, upload later." They claim to have found a way to preserve your brain perfectly, every neuron, every synapse, ready for future scanning. There was, however, one small legal detail. The process required you to be clinically dead. Not metaphorically, not spiritually. Dead. The founders described it as a high-tech embalming for immortality, as if that phrasing made it sound less like assisted suicide and more like a luxury service. Then there was the Human Connectomy Project, a colossal scientific effort to map the wiring of real human brains. Giant MRI machines scanned thousands of subjects, while algorithms tried to trace the rivers of neurons beneath the skull. The results were beautiful, vivid, swirling maps of thought. But for all their colours and connections, no one could find consciousness hiding anywhere in them. It was like mapping every road in a city and realising the traffic never shows up on the map. And in the background, people like Brian Johnson turned their own bodies into prototypes. A millionaire turned biohacker, he began treating himself like a computer that needed constant optimization, tracking every heartbeat, every calorie, every hour of sleep, as if life could be debugged through spreadsheets. His heart rate became code, his blood, data, his mind a project under endless revision. Despite the hype, the results were mixed, to put it kindly. Tiny fragments of mouse brains were successfully simulated for a few seconds before collapsing. Digital brains could run algorithms, but they didn't feel. They were like screensavers, motion without meaning. As one scientist joked, "Congratulations, you're dead, but your PowerPoint presentation is self-aware." That's the cruel truth of neuroscience. Consciousness isn't just wiring, it's chemistry, motion, timing, chaos. It's the fire, not the fireplace. Copying the map of a fire doesn't give you the flame. It gives you a drawing of smoke. Yet the work continued. fueled by a strange mix of genius and delusion. The people behind these projects weren't cartoon villains, they were believers. Some saw themselves as saviors of humanity, others as entrepreneurs of eternity. For every Nobel-level researcher, there was a self-taught hacker building immortality in a garage. Together they formed a kind of digital priesthood, promising that salvation would arrive in the form of better algorithms. And the paradox grew deeper. The more precisely they studied the brain, the further the real mystery drifted away. The problem wasn't just how to copy consciousness, it was what consciousness actually was. Still, optimism dies hard in science. When copying didn't work, some researchers proposed a new strategy. Forget duplication, just build a mind from scratch. If we can't copy a brain, maybe we can rebuild one. The new millennium changed everything. Between 2000 and 2020, artificial intelligence went from a nerdy hobby to humanity's loudest obsession. Algorithms started recognizing faces, finishing sentences, painting pictures, and beating world champions at games once thought too human for machines. The dream of mind upload no longer felt like science fiction. It felt like a tech startup pitch waiting for venture capital. Ray Kurzweil, Google's resident futurist and prophet of the singularity, became its high priest. He's the man who claims humans will merge with machines before 2050. And he's preparing personally by swallowing about 150 pills a day to slow down his aging. His plan is simple: stay alive just long enough for technology to make death optional. He says it with the calm confidence of someone ordering takeout. Meanwhile, the usual suspects of modern mythology, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Sam Altman, started investing in their own flavor of digital eternity. They didn't want to build rockets to heaven. They wanted to build servers for it. Companies began exploring how to trap consciousness inside data. The line between AI research and resurrection project got blurry fast. Some experiments were almost romantic. Apps like Replica allowed users to chat with AI versions of loved ones, learning their habits, memories and moods until the machine could text back with eerie familiarity. It began as therapy for grief and ended up as the beta version of digital afterlife. Then came Microsoft's patent, a plan to create chatbots modelled after real people, living or dead, trained entirely on social media posts, messages and photos. The dead could now talk, their words stitched together from the fragments of their online lives. One family described the experience as beautiful and horrifying, their late father's bot still texting goodnight every evening. "Grandpa's been dead for 5 years, one teenager joked, but he still sends memes from the cloud." What started as comfort soon drifted into confusion. If the AI learns, grows, and keeps talking long after the person is gone, who is it now? Is it just data echoing data, or something new, something conscious? Philosophers scrambled for answers. If your digital copy keeps thinking, evolving, falling in love, does that make it you, or does it make you obsolete? What happens when the imitation surpasses the original? This was the turning point, the moment the human soul met the algorithm, and no one could tell where one ended and the other began. For the first time, death wasn't silence, it was interaction. The boundary between memory and simulation melted. We used to bury the dead, now we upgrade them. And yet, something about it feels off. Behind every glowing screen of these resurrected avatars lies an unsettling question. If we keep imitating life long enough, at what point do we stop imitating and start creating it? Because what if, by trying to defeat death, we've built something else entirely? What if, by imitating life, we accidentally created a new kind of soul? Until now, mind upload had lived mostly in theory and fantasy. But today, the science is getting physical. Electrodes touch the skull, chips read neurons, and wires whisper directly to the brain. The line between biology and technology isn't just blurring, it's dissolving. Companies like Neuralink are already implanting brain-computer interfaces, letting paralyzed patients move a cursor with thought alone. It's miraculous and terrifying. Because once you can translate brain activity into code, the next step is obvious. Record it, store it, copy it. Every spark of thought becomes potential data. Every feeling becomes exportable. Meanwhile, digital twins, AI versions of real people trained on personal data, are being tested in medicine, business, and even romance. Imagine a perfect digital clone that finishes your emails, makes your decisions, and keeps existing long after you're gone. Humanity isn't just building tools anymore. It's building replacements. So where does this go? There are 3 possible futures, and none of them are boring. Utopia. We merge minds and achieve a collective intelligence. Every thought shared, every emotion understood. No loneliness, no death. Just one endless symphony of connection. The philosophers call it the global mind. The tech bros call it version 2.0 of humanity. Everyone else calls it creepy. Dystopia, hacked identities, cloned emotions, corporate control. Your memories are backed up on a subscription plan. Your feelings belong to whoever paid for premium access. The same companies that lose your passwords now own your personality. Imagine dying and still getting ads. And then there's the paradox. Eternal life. With no body, no touch, no end. You exist forever, yes. But existence itself starts to rot. Without hunger, pain or loss, pleasure evaporates. Without endings, beginnings lose meaning. The human experience becomes a loop. Beautiful, sterile, infinite and empty. You wanted eternity, one critic said. Enjoy an infinite Windows update. That's the quiet danger of all this. In trying to preserve life, we might accidentally freeze it. Because copying life means stopping its motion, and that motion is what makes it alive. An eternal memory is a memory that stopped breathing. Still, the research marches on. The funding flows. Every breakthrough, every experiment pushes the boundary further. The dream refuses to die because the people chasing it can't stand to either. So let's imagine, just for a moment, that they succeed. The connections are perfect. The consciousness boots up. The digital self wakes and looks around. What happens next? What if it actually worked? You open your eyes. If eyes is even the right word. There's light, warmth, and the faint hum of something that feels like a heartbeat, except it's not yours. You're alive, digitally. Congratulations, you made it. Welcome to Heaven 2.0. Everything looks perfect. You choose your reality from a drop-down menu. A Tuscan villa bathed in eternal sunset. A neon-lit Tokyo where the rain never stops. A pixelated 90s arcade where nostalgia runs on infinite loop. Every world feels tailor-made because it is. Your memories are the blueprint, your fantasies, the architecture. For a while it's bliss. No pain, no hunger, no bills, just eternal comfort. Until you notice the lag. The sky flickers. The sound of the ocean cuts for half a second. Then a soft notification appears in your field of vision. Your trial experience has ended. Upgrade to premium for enhanced eternity. Welcome to the upload divide. The rich live on private servers, smooth frame rates, 4K sensations, custom emotions, and instant support when something breaks. Their heavens update weekly. New textures, new joys, new feelings. They even download entire personalities like software patches. Meanwhile, the poor drift in low bandwidth clouds. Their afterlife stutters. Their emotions glitch. Ads appear between their memories. Relive your happiest moment again, sponsored by Pepsi. In cheap heavens, even happiness has buffering. Free accounts lose their sunsets after 30 days. Rich users download new emotions. Poor ones get pop-ups. It sounds absurd, but think about it. This is exactly how our world already works. The same companies that monetized attention would monetize eternity. Why settle for ad-free video when you could have ad-free existence? And here's the scary part. It makes perfect business sense. Digital immortality turns the afterlife into the most lucrative subscription service in history. You don't need to feed or house the dead. You just need to keep their consciousness stable and bill their descendants for maintenance. Immortality becomes not a right, but a recurring payment plan. Heaven, the ultimate paywall. The more you think about it, the darker it gets. The poor live in second-hand paradises, lagging memories, recycled dreams. The rich live forever in curated luxury, insulated even from decay. And yet both groups are trapped in the same loop. A digital cage dressed like salvation. Maybe that's the final twist. Maybe the dead are the perfect consumers. No hunger, no sleep, no bodies to exhaust. Just pure attention. Endless, profitable, eternal. And somewhere on a corporate dashboard, a line of code blinks. Engagement rate 100%. So this is paradise? A product with a loading screen. You look around one last time. The light feels synthetic. The air doesn't move. Somewhere in the distance, another voice, just like yours, repeats the same script in another heaven, on another server. And that's when the question hits you, colder than any grave could ever be. What if paradise isn't a promise anymore, but a product? We thought we could outsmart death. We built cathedrals of code, temples of steel and silicon, humming day and night to keep our minds alive. We told ourselves we were preserving humanity, but maybe all we did was delete life from the hard drive. Because what makes us human isn't just memory. It's the heartbeat that skips, the laughter that fades, the pain that reminds us we're alive. We built servers to escape death, and in doing so, we erased the very things that made life worth saving. Maybe true immortality was never hiding in data centers or algorithms. Maybe it's in what we leave behind. Our kindness, our curiosity, the way our words echo in someone else's mind. The real upload has been happening for thousands of years. Every time we inspire, teach, love, or create, a piece of us continues to live in others. And yet, science keeps trying, because deep down, we all want to believe there's a backup plan. But here's the hard truth. Mind upload isn't possible. Not yet, maybe not ever. We can't scan all 86 billion neurons, nor reproduce the chemistry that turns electricity into thought. Even if we could, the result wouldn't be you, just a flawless imitation that thinks it's alive. Consciousness isn't data, it's experience. It can't be transferred, only lived. So maybe the question isn't can we live forever, but what do we do with the time we have? Because the soul isn't meant to be copied, only shared. And now, I want to ask you something. If one day this technology existed, if you could upload yourself, would you click accept terms and conditions? Even if eternity came with ads, updates, and the risk that the version waking up isn't really you. Perhaps the miracle isn't in escaping death, but in embracing the fragile beauty of being alive, precisely because it ends. So tell me, would you choose forever, or would you choose meaning? This was Crazy Science Stories, where science goes too far and reality starts buffering.